Good to go. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here and taking a shot on this activity that you have no clue what's going to happen. But as you can see, we're going to talk about what this is. What are we doing here? Okay, we're going to talk about the brain, exercise, and sleep. Okay, so here we go. What is this? Why are we here? So pretty much this will be a weekly thing where we'll get together here. We'll talk about ideas, concepts, stuff that I'm learning about and I want to talk about with other people. And hopefully you take what you learn here and either explore it in your own time, read books, watch videos, talk to your friends, I don't know. But hopefully the idea is that you guys learn a little bit of something that's interesting, okay? And engage with each other and enhance your education. So what are we gonna do? This is kind of what a group discussion looks like, all the different parts about it. So you got confidence, you gotta be able to say what's on your mind, right? You gotta be polite, you have to be able to listen and share your thoughts, right? So being respectful of other people's thoughts, letting them speak, say what they wanna think. So just a quick idea, communication skills. The goals for this, kind of like I touched upon already, is to learn how to engage as a group, okay? And have a discussion, share your thoughts, listen to other people share their own thoughts. And then also learn different ways we can get information. So there's videos, there's books, there's podcasts, all kinds of stuff like that. And the next point is strengthen our ability to analyze information. Okay, so when you're reading a book, when you're watching a video, you want to be able to break it down, understand it, right? And take away something that, again, enhances your own education. At least that's the hope. Okay, what are the expectations? So embrace the hiccups, the awkwardness, because again, this is new for me too. I've just had this idea and I'm bringing it to life right now. So you guys are part of the process. All I ask is that you guys be patient, be open-minded, and come in with no expectations, if that makes sense. Just be like, all right, what are we gonna do today, if that makes sense. Again, you'll be exposed to different ideas, different topics in the world. Hopefully some of them are interesting to you. I ask you to be an active participant, so when you do discuss amongst yourselves, share your thoughts. Don't be afraid to say what you gotta say, pretty much. Adopt a growth mindset. So if you don't know something or something is weird to you, don't just shut it off. Like, be interested, be curious, want to learn more. And then the last piece is just do the work at home. There will be some homework in this. Obviously, I can't hold you to it, but it's more so like, check out this video and then come back next week, tell me what you think, kind of thing. So it's not like I'm gonna be asking you to write stuff, you know what I'm saying? So, okay, this is how it's gonna work. Again, we'll be here once a week, so you can come whenever you want. Every Wednesday, 2 o'clock, after you guys finish your outside stuff, you can come in. If you don't wanna come, that's totally fine. It'll be me talking for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then you guys will talk amongst yourselves. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Okay, here's just a list of the topics that we'll get into. So we got judgment, decision making, telling the truth, personal responsibility, why study history. So we're kind of going all over the place, okay? And these may change over the course of, our time together. So if you have ideas that you're interested in, feel free to let me know. I'm open. Okay, so here we go. This one is the first week. So we got the brain, exercise, and sleep. We're gonna try to tackle all three in this amount of time. Also, hey guys, you guys know me. I don't appreciate the side chatter, so when you're here, I ask, all eyes on me, okay? I know we got a lot of distractions, but that's fine. Okay, here's the first exercise. Can I get one volunteer to try to read all these words? You got it? Okay, so you got to say the color of each piece, okay? So let me get one volunteer to try it. All right, Vincent is first. Stand up here. So you got to say the colors as fast as you can all the way. Okay, from left to right. Here we go.
Like the word or the color?
The color, the color. Fast as you can.
Red, white, green, brown, green. Red, brown, white. Red, brown. Oh, no.
Okay, someone else. Let me get a try. All right, come on. Let's go. Let's see it. Quick, 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 quick. Say it out loud so we can hear.
Red, white, green, brown, green, red, brown, white, red,
All right, another person. One more. Go ahead. Say it out loud.
Red, white, green, brown, green, red, brown, white, red, white, green, brown, white, green, brown, red, brown, red, green, white, green, white, brown, red, brown, white, green, white,
Keep going.
Green, brown, red.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
You did it. That was it. That was pretty successful. Good job. Okay, here is the next thing. So the instructions for this, you guys see the people wearing black right here? You guys see the people wearing black. Your job is to count how many times they pass the basketball to each other. Is that clear? So I'm going to play the video. I want you to count how many times they pass the ball. Only the people in black. Okay? All right. Here we go. Or the people in white. Excuse me. The people in white. The people in white. Don't say the answer.
Oh, that's confusing. I'm not doing it.
Okay.
Why was there a monkey?
He just ruined. He just did not want to say the answer.
Right. I said didn't say the answer. Okay. All right. Who counted? Give me the answers.
14.
14, 15, 15,
14.
14. Okay. All right. Raise your hand if you saw the monkey. Raise your hand if you did not see a monkey. Okay. So the reason I did that, just real quick, is because we're talking about the brain. I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of something, right? That first thing that we did, you had to call out the color instead of the word, but it was confusing, right? Because you had it a little bit mixed match. This one, we were so focused on just counting the passes that some of you might have missed the monkey, right? And when they did this, apparently about 50% of people did not see the monkey, right? They were so focused on counting the passes, they missed the monkey entirely. And that just goes to show that sometimes when our brain is focused on something, it's really easy to miss other stuff, okay? So, let's see. Here are the different parts of the brain. I know it's a lot, but has anybody ever looked at a brain before, like in this format? You have, Belen? So you know that the brain is made up of different parts? Kinda? Yeah? How about everybody else? No? Okay. Well, yeah, a couple different ways that you can look at it, but this just gives you an idea of how much stuff is going on there. Okay? So the brain does a lot, right? We are constantly looking, right? For those of us that can see, we're getting information through visual, and our brain is processing that information, right? I can tell I'm this close to the person, I'm far away, right? Well, motor function just means movement, okay? So our ability to move around is dictated by our brain. Thoughts, memory, understanding, judgment, decision making, that's all part of the brain, okay? And then our internal regulation. So that just means our organs, our heart, our liver, kidneys, energy use when you eat, right? That energy is distributed throughout the body. Our temperature, digestion, waste, feelings, emotions, all that stuff is connected to the brain. So here are just a couple basic parts. The amygdala. So this part of the brain you can think of as related to stress. Okay. So anytime you feel super amped up, right? Like you're about to run a mile, or you're playing in a sports game, the amygdala is probably active. The hippocampus, this one supports memory, learning, and our perception of space. So it's kind of related to how we move. And then the hypothalamus just does some internal body stuff. So body temperature, our sleep schedule, hunger, emotions, that kind of stuff. And a little bit of memory. So here are the parts. Here's the hypothalamus. So you can see it's this small part right here. The amygdala right here, this little thing. And then the hippocampus right there. Okay? So as you can see, it's in the inside of the brain. So pretty much what that means from like evolutionary perspective is those were there first. All this stuff that you see on the outside, those came over time. Okay, so over thousands of years of being human, pretty much. And what does it look like? Okay, so at the microscopic level, does anybody know cells? Right? The human body has cells. Okay, so the brain also has cells, which pretty much look like this. Okay, this is one cell right here. Okay, these are the different parts of it. And then this picture right here, you can just think of that is how the brain kind of works. There's about 100, I want to say 100 billion cells in the brain, and they're all kind of connected like this. It's really complicated. It's like a road system, essentially. All the different cells are connected to each other, and this is what it looks like when they communicate. So you got a cell right here, you got this other cell right here, and this spot, they're sending information to each other, if that makes sense. Okay? So again, you got about 100 billion of these things in your brain. And this part right here, you guys see this yellow thing? So the more you know something, the bigger that is. So for example, most of us know how to walk, right? So you can imagine the brain cells that control walking are really thick. Like these things right here, they're really tight, really strong, because we walk all the time. But if I were to ask you, hey, Vincent, please. If I were to ask you, tell me a word in French, right? Does anybody here know how to speak French? No. Perfect. Okay. Belen, you know how to speak French? No? Okay. Well, because nobody here knows how to speak French, this would not exist, right? A connection for speaking French would not exist because we haven't formed that connection. Does that make sense to you guys? But if I started teaching you and you practice, like, bonjour means hello, and you said it over and over and over again, right? Then you would develop this. So this just kind of gives you an idea of how things work at the microscopic level. And then how can we think about the brain? So first point, everyone is different, right? That picture that you saw with all the different connections, everyone's is going to be different.
All right, more.
Two,
Give me 30 minutes.
just as we exercise our body, our physical body, we should exercise our brain, right? Now, how can we do that? Mental challenges, reading, listening to other people, doing stuff like this. Games, kind of like what we did at the beginning. That color thing was kind of a game, right? And two things. Exercise is the tool to help us maintain our brain health, and then sleep is the foundation of everything, of our body, okay? So we'll get into that a little bit as we go along. And then what are we up against every day? Nature, the environment, and stress, right? I'm sure we all have a little bit of that going on. So the first point that I wanted to make here is at a certain point, our brain and body stops developing, and then we get into this process known as aging, right? And at that point, the body is pretty much on a steady decline. All we're doing at that point is trying to keep ourselves healthy so that we can live as long as possible. Does that make sense? But over time, our skin gets wrinkly, ears get bigger, nose gets bigger, maybe we'll get a little fatter, who knows, right? But the body is degrading over time. The environment, we're constantly faced with new things every single day, right? Whether it be stress at school, stress at home, weird people out in the world, etc., etc. We've got to be able to handle that. Hey guys, please, if you're gonna be here, focus. But if not, you don't have to. Okay, this is completely voluntary. But if you're gonna be here, all I ask is that you guys be quiet and respectful. Is that fair enough? Cool? All right. And then last thing, stress releases this hormone called cortisol right here. And then too much of that essentially speeds up the dying process. It kills cells, it prevents the growth of new cells, and it silences other parts of our brain. So if you remember, there's this part of the brain called the amygdala that pretty much controls our stress response. If the amygdala gets too strong, it'll overpower other parts of the brain. Okay, and we'll get into that a little bit as we go along. So what can exercise do for us in response to all of this? And I got this quote from a book. I'll show you guys the title of it in a second, but let's read it. The stress of exercise is predictable. Vincent, you got one more chance. Belen, you too. Yes. Okay. Talk again. We gotta go. Please, focus. At least just be quiet. The stress of exercise is predictable and controllable because you are initiating the action. You control it. And these two variables are key to psychology. With exercise, you gain a sense of mastery and self-confidence. Does that make sense to everybody? You're the one that decides to run a mile. You're the one that decides to lift some weights. Okay? So, here's a whole bunch of stuff. I'll try to explain it as best as I can without being too boring. So, exercise increases blood flow, right? And the more blood flow we have, the more availability of glucose, and that is pretty much an energy source for all of our cells. So that's how you can think about it. Glucose is energy for our body. More efficient energy usage, so we're not working as hard, okay? Small victories. You prove to yourself through exercise that you can do things and you can handle stressful situations, okay? So after you finish a mile, you feel good. You're like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. Now I can. Maybe next time I'll try to run 2 miles, right? Or I lifted 200 pounds on the bench press, right? I didn't know I could do that. Next time you go up a little bit more. And those small victories, they keep us going in life, essentially. As you prove to yourself you can do certain things, you get stronger, you get smarter, your body gets stronger and smarter as well. Okay? And you get this thing, increased production of BDNF, IGF-1, and then you also get FGF2, VGF. Now, those sound really weird, but the best way that you can think about it is these are, let's call them chemicals in the brain that help the brain do a couple things. So, neurogenesis and neuroplasticity. Can anybody guess what those words mean? Just to get you guys a little bit involved here. Can anybody guess? Take a wild guess.
Cells.
What about it?
I'll have to do something with cells.
Okay, it does. It does have to do something with cells. Anyone else? That's okay. So, neurogenesis pretty much means the birth of new cells. Okay? So, from nowhere, well, not from nowhere, but we can create more cells. Neuroplasticity just refers to the brain's ability to kind of rechange shape. So the brain is not stuck. We can actually help it reconfigure itself, if that makes sense. And now, go. Thanks for coming. And then the last two right here, VGF2, VEGF, those just help the brain have stronger connections. Okay? And exercise and learning. So again, these are the same 2 points, so don't worry about that. But all this stuff above, again, just think about it as like it's helping the brain grow. Okay? And exercise increases the production of this stuff. Okay? And these areas of the brain, the hippocampus, the cortex, the basal forebrain, these are all related to learning, memory, and higher thinking. Okay? So the more of this we can get through exercise, the better our brain is able to learn, to process information, and grow, and change over time. Does that make sense to everybody? And this is what we can accomplish through exercise. And again, just a quick note, the more complex the movement, the stronger the connections in our brain. So if you imagine, does anybody in here do dancing? Like serious dancing? Anyone? No? Has anybody ever taken a dance lesson? You have? Don't be shy. I'm just asking questions.
Me?
How about, who plays sports here? Raise your hand. Okay. What sport?
Boxing.
Boxing? Boxing is a complex movement, right? You have to punch and you have to dodge at the same time, right? So something like that, or something like dancing, is essentially challenging the brain to get stronger. And as we learn more, the brain gets stronger. I know it sounds silly, but that's how you kind of think about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So just to kind of sum it up on the exercise part, this is the book that I've been getting all this information from. It's called Spark, the Revolutionary New Science of Exercise in the Brain. Here's another quote. It's about growth versus decay. Okay, decay meaning our body just getting old over time. Activity versus inactivity. The body was designed to be pushed, and in pushing our bodies, we push our brains too. Learning and memory evolved in concert with the motor functions. Again, motor functions just means our ability to move around, jump, dive, etc., etc. To track down food. So as far as our brains are concerned, if we're not moving, there's no real need to learn anything. Okay? So you can think, when humans first started out, we had to figure out things like how to get food, how to hunt animals, how to build houses, right? All of this involved moving, figuring out our environment, and through all of that, the brain kind of develops, okay? The regiment, so pretty much what you want to do is exercise 2 to 3 times per week, and you want to get your heart rate up to where it's hard to have a conversation. So has anybody ran a mile here before? Okay. If you were running seriously, do you think you would be able to have a conversation with somebody? No, right? So that's kind of the exercise level that you want to get at to accomplish all the things that we just talked about. Okay? So if you want to reduce stress, strengthen the brain, you want to kind of get into that zone where it's hard to talk with somebody while you're exercising. Okay, introduction to sleep. So almost everything in life sleeps, from the small stuff, bacteria, viruses, cells. They all spend some portion of their life doing nothing. Why? To rest and recover, right? And you think, well, why would all living things spend a portion of their life sleeping if that kind of makes us, if that puts us at risk? Again, if you imagine, if we all lived in the jungle and we went to sleep at night, wouldn't the lions and the tigers and the snakes, wouldn't they just kill us then? Maybe, right? So you have to figure that out. But to the body, sleep is so important because it does all these things right here. So we've got recovery, healing, nutrient distribution, information downloading. So if I teach you something today, you go to sleep tonight, the brain is moving that information to a place in the brain where it can keep it and remember it. And sleep helps us do that. If we don't get enough sleep, it's hard for the brain to take in information and remember it for later. Okay? Yeah. here are the 4 stages. So you got 4 stages. Did anybody know that there are different parts of sleep? Right? So there are different parts. So part 1 is just that first period where we go from being awake to falling asleep. Okay? Part 2 is the body temperature drops, the heart rate begins to slow, and the brain begins to produce these things called sleep spindles. Okay? Sleep spindles, if you can imagine like an electric pulse going from the back of your brain to the front of it, that's what a sleep spindle is, if that makes sense. I know it's kind of weird, it may not sound, so imagine something like this being pushed throughout the brain, and during that time, information is getting consolidated, memories are formed, that kind of stuff. Stage 3, your muscles relax, and that's when the deepest part of your sleep occurs. The last part, REM sleep. So this is when the brain becomes more active, and that's when you start dreaming. Okay, and it's called REM sleep. REM sleep essentially stands for rapid eye movement. Yeah. So those are the different parts. Here it is again, just kind of looking at it as a timeline. So this is 8 hours right here, and if you follow the line, this is essentially our sleep path. So we go through all the different stages throughout the night, okay? And as we get to the later half of the night, we don't go into stage 3, stage 4. We spend most of our time in this area. You guys see that? So in the second half of the night, that's when dreaming happens, essentially. And other things like problem solving, creativity. So if you've ever heard somebody say like, oh, it came to me in my dream, the answer to a problem that I have, believe it or not, it's a thing, and it's probably happening in this pink part right here, again, called REM sleep, okay? And just a quick fact about dreaming, when you start dreaming, the body releases this chemical that pretty much paralyzes you. Because, yeah, I know it sounds kind of funny, but can anybody tell me why that would happen? Like, why would the body release a chemical that paralyzes you while you're dreaming? Take a guess. So you don't move. Exactly, because what would we do? We would act out our dreams, right? Because sometimes we're running, maybe we're playing a sport, we're doing something weird, right? Imagine if in our sleep we were like going crazy. So that's what the body is doing during that time. It's to protect itself. Yeah. Say it again. It's bad to wake up a dreamer. I've heard that too. I don't know exactly why that's the case, but I've definitely heard that too. I think if I had to take a guess, it would just be like interrupting their sleep. But anyways, that's what sleep looks like. And what does sleep do for the brain? We kind of already touched upon it already, so I'll just say it again. Sleep refreshes our ability to take in new information, okay? And we also sleep to forget. So this is an interesting thing. If bad things happen to us, during sleep, the brain can actually move that information to a part of the brain where we don't think about it as much, because we don't want to think about bad things. It also helps us remember stuff, right? Imagine if you had to Google map where your house was every single time, right? I imagine most of us know where we live by heart, yes? Right? I could throw you up anywhere in the world, most likely, and you would be able to find your way home, right? The brain has kind of made that automatic, essentially, so that you don't have to think about it, because part of the brain and part of our body really is we want to use as little energy as possible, okay? And we do that by doing things automatically. Imagine if you had to think about walking every step. It's like, I'm going to pick my knee up, I'm going to put my foot down here, right? We don't do that. We just walk. Make sense? Okay. Now, the cost of sleep deprivation. Now, I think I should say real quick, based on this book, it's called Why We Sleep. The author pretty much believes that if we get anything less than 7 hours of sleep, I would say 7.5, we're sleep deprived, right? So over the course of, I want to say it's 8 to 10 days, if you sleep 6 hours each of those nights, it would be the same as if you stayed up an entire day, 24 hours, right? which is kind of scary. Pretty much his message is we should all do our best to try to get as close to 8 hours as we can. Now I know that's hard for a lot of us because we just got all kinds of things going on. You got to take your little siblings to school. You go to sleep late because you had to do homework, other stuff, sports. I get it. But I guess the message is as best as you can, try to get 8 hours. But what happens over the course, or what can happen over the course of a life of a person that's sleep deprived? Pretty much you have neurological stuff associated with the brain, and then you also have physical stuff, cancer, diabetes, heart attacks, weight gain, and more. For the neurological stuff, we're more susceptible to depression, anxiety, stress, all those things. Sleep helps us kind of push back against that. And if we don't get enough of it, those feelings that we have kind of a little bit harder on us, okay? And the idea is our body is stuck in this state called fight or flight. Has anybody heard that before? Fight or flight? What does it mean? Take a guess. Yeah.
Like a bad guy, I guess. Like you're getting robbed, you can either try to fight him or you can just give stuff away.
Yeah, that's a good example, right? So if somebody were to come to rob you, your emotions would probably pick up like 1,000 times, right? Like you'd be like, should I run? Should I do? What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Your mind's probably racing. Now, if we don't get enough sleep, the mind can kind of be in that state for too long. And when it's like that for too long, that's when we see damage start to happen, okay? So, again, you can just think fight or flight is like a crazy situation. And during those times, you can imagine your emotions swinging back and forth between laughing and happy to mad and sad, like that, okay? Now, maybe you know somebody that if you bother them, they'll get mad super fast, right? And then you also probably know people that are super chill all the time. Like they very rarely get mad, very rarely happy or sad. They're just kind of, neutral. If we don't get enough sleep, it's easier for us to go between these extremes. Yeah, does that make sense?
You're older, right?
Okay.
No, I'm older.
Now, here are some tips. We're almost done, so good job to you guys for sticking with me for so long. How can we optimize our sleep? Okay, so here are some things that you can actually do at home. The first one is to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even on the weekends. Okay. The second one is to avoid bright lights leading up to sleep, so otherwise your phone, okay, and maybe a laptop, TV screen. If you can, turn the lights down in your room, and that kind of preps the body to go to sleep. It makes it easier, so if any of you have trouble falling asleep, if you turn the lights down before you go to sleep, it kind of helps. The next one, expose yourself to the sun directly in the morning and in the evening. Now what that does is it kind of tells the brain, okay, it's sun now, so let's wake the body up. And then from that point, the body is putting out this chemical called adenosine. It's pretty much the sleep chemical. The more you got of that, the more tired you are, and it builds up over the course of the day so that by the end of the day, you're ready to go to sleep. You have so much, it's time to go to sleep. Exposing yourself to the sun just signals to the brain, okay, wake up and put out some adenosine. I don't know if it's like that, but I don't know if that's the right name. Look it up. And then another one, keep the room cool. So keeping the room cool actually helps you sleep. So if you have a fan, if you want to open the window, if you can. Journal before going to bed. Now this is an interesting one because has anybody ever sat laying in bed thinking about a whole bunch of stuff? Yeah? Okay. So the author of the book, Why We Sleep, his suggestion is before you go to bed, just do a quick journal. All that stuff that you have in your head, try to get it down on paper so that by the time you're in your bed, you're not thinking about it so much, okay? Because it can happen. You get into bed, it's like, dang, I forgot to do this. I got to do this tomorrow. Oh, man, this is going on. And then you start thinking about something. So if you can, try to journal. And then if you are struggling to fall asleep, here's the next point. His suggestion is to actually get out of bed and go do something quiet and chill. So reading, writing, until you fall asleep, or until you feel tired again, then you can go back to bed, okay? And then last point is just be careful not to nap too late in the day, okay? Has anybody ever done that where they nap maybe around dinner time and then it was hard for them to go to sleep? Yeah? Okay. So that's one of his suggestions is like you can take naps, but just realize that chemical that I mentioned earlier, adenosine, when you take a nap, it kind of resets, right? So you don't have enough tired to go to bed. Now, you'll lose the tired as I put here. And then just to finish it off, has anybody ever seen this meme before? Rushing out of bed to pee and running back so you don't lose the tired, right? Has anybody ever done that? You're like, dang, I gotta go back into bed so I can fall asleep, right? That's how you can think about it with the nap thing, right? If I take a nap, I might not be able to sleep later. So just be careful with the nap. Okay, enough of me talking. Now I want you guys to talk amongst yourselves. You can all sit at one table, or yeah, I would say you come over here. But these are your questions. You can talk, you can go one by one, you can pick one of these, share your answer with the people around you. But the first one is, what are some of your favorite ways to exercise? 2, what is the best sleep setup for you? Even if it's like one in your dreams, tell me about it. How big is the bed? What kind of blankets do you like? What kind of pillows? You know? What is the most interesting thing about the brain you learned today? Or if anything at all. And then, what do you want to learn about more? And the last one, are there any habits or lifestyle changes that you might consider after this? So, that's my part, and that's on you guys. Talk amongst yourselves.